My name is Brett, and I'm a solutions architect at Privacy Dynamics. In this video, I'm going to talk about a self-hosted development platform called Coder, and how you can use it to create an awesome developer experience by including real production data made safely available by Privacy Dynamics. We'll use a small demonstration app with some simulated user data to show you how to use Privacy Dynamics to create a copy with the personally identifiable information, or PII, removed. Then we'll use that data in our development workflow. Let's get to it. This is the GitHub repository for our demonstration app. And I've also included a Coder template, which you can see here. Coder uses Terraform to define what resources make up a given developer workspace. This allows flexibility to support a wide range of cloud providers and on-prem solutions. Coder comes with quite a few templates built in, but you can also create your own, which is what I've done here. This template will create a VM in Google Cloud and a persistent root disk. It will also install Docker and clone my repo automatically when it first starts. I've already pushed the custom template into my instance of Coder and created a couple of workspaces using it. For this demo, I'll use this workspace I created and pretend it's our production app. You almost certainly won't run real production this way, but I need an environment for this demo, and I think this shows off the flexibility of Coder for ad hoc purposes like this, as well as part of a daily developer workflow. Coder will detect HTTP services running in the workspace and make those available automatically in the UI. I'll open up port 5000 here, which is the user interface for my demo app. The demo app simply displays a grid of the user information. Now, this is simulated data, but we'll pretend this is our production app, and as you can see, there is PII here, like the name and phone number. I've also created another workspace called Intermediate Target. We're going to use this as a temporary space to store our data in. Now, I've started up this app and I haven't loaded any data in it, so if I open up that same UI link, I expect to get an error. And I do. Now let's use Privacy Dynamics to create a copy of the production database with the PII removed so our developers can use it safely. In order for us to access the source and target databases, we'll need to create two connections in Privacy Dynamics. I've already set these up, but I do want to briefly show what the connection screen looks like. Here's the connection to the database running in that production workspace in Coder. It's a Postgres database, and we're using SSH forwarding to connect to it. Since the SSH host and the database are on the same machine, I'll use localhost for the database host name, and the IP address of the Coder workspace as my SSH host. The database isn't accessible publicly on this database port here, but I can connect via SSH and then use port forwarding to connect to the database. I'll paste in my password and my key here and test the connection to make sure it works. It looks like that's working. So I'll go ahead and save that. With the connections to our production source and the target database in place, I can click the Anonymize button to create a new project. This first screen is to choose the data we want to anonymize. So I'll select that production workspace as a source, and I'll choose the public schema. And for my destination connection, I'm going to use a different connection that is to that intermediate target workspace, and I'll choose the same schema. Now, the demo app only has one table in it, this users table, so I'll go ahead and choose to treat that table. Next, we can choose how we want to configure the treatment. So by default, Privacy Dynamics will detect identifiers and automatically treat them, but you can choose to customize how each field will be treated. We'll leave this set to treat all identifiers. Next, we can choose how we want to treat the direct identifiers. Direct identifiers are fields that directly relate to a human, like their name or social security number. We can choose to redact these columns, mask them, which means overwriting them with replacement characters, or we can choose to use realistic data. This is fake data that takes the same type as the original column. So names look like names, phone numbers look like phone numbers, etc. This is probably the most useful for development environments, so we'll choose that. On this last screen, we'll choose a name for the project. Let's use Coder and Privacy Dynamics demo. You can also set up a schedule. And this is useful when you're setting up your production system because you can create this project once and then have it run, say, every day or every week at a set time. For this demo, I'll go ahead and not set up a schedule, and instead we'll just run immediately. Now, this project will connect to the production data using a secure SSH connection. It's going to read the source data. In this case, there's about 10,000 user records. It will then replace the direct identifiers with fake data and then connect to the target database and write the anonymized data out to it. And it looks like it's done. We can click on the dataset and see how the treatment went. We can see how the fields are categorized and which fields were detected as direct identifiers. In this case, we can see that it grabbed the first name, the last name, and the phone number are direct identifiers, and these other columns were not direct identifiers. Let's go look at that intermediate target environment again and see if it's working. So I'm just going to go back to this error screen and I'm going to hit refresh. Now we've loaded data into this environment, so hopefully it'll work. And it looks like it is working. So I'm going to go back to the production copy. Now this is our production data, and you can see here we have this 45-year-old male in Florida, and we have a 25-year-old female in Virginia. And if I go over to the intermediate target, this should be anonymized data, but you'll notice these are the same records. This is still a 45-year-old male from Florida and a 25-year-old female from Virginia, but the names and phone numbers have been completely changed. So Privacy Dynamics has removed or de-identified the personal identifiable information out of this data set. So this is safe to use in development. So now that we have this anonymized database, we'll create a backup and store it in a place where Coder can automatically load it into each developer's workspace. This way, they'll get the benefit of using real production data when developing and testing features without exposing PII inside the development environment. The specific technique here works well for our purposes, but it's far from the only option. Instead of a database backup, you could use a snapshot feature built into your database platform or a disk-based snapshot. Since Coder supports all kinds of cloud and database options, you can choose the setup that works well for your app and your infrastructure requirements. I'm going to go back here to the intermediate target workspace, and this is the workspace where we wrote the anonymized data, and I'm going to open up a terminal. Now the app is running in this workspace, so I should be able to just run docker ps and see that I have my Postgres database running here. And then I'm going to paste in a command we'll use to back up the data that's running in it. So this is going to connect to that same container, and it's going to use the pg dump to just create a backup on my workspace here. So I'll run that, and we'll take a quick peek at the file that it created. So you can see here it's going to create the table, and here are those users, and you can see these are the anonymized names and phone numbers in that data. So that looks good. The file name is important because we do want to overwrite the one we already have in Google Cloud Store, which is what the template is looking for when it starts up. The DB password works here because we've already passed that into the container when we started it, so that's kind of cool. So I'm going to use gsutil, and we'll just copy that up to a GCS bucket. That I've got here. It's called Anonymize Demo Snapshots. And so we're copying this database backup up to a Cloud Store bucket. And we're pretty much done with the intermediate target environment. So I'll close this down. And now we're going to use that snapshot in a totally new workspace. So we've uploaded the data. I'm just going to create a new workspace, and we'll just call this dev test. And I can choose which region I want it to be in and click create workspace. Now, it does take a little while to create a workspace. This is running the Terraform. It has to create the VM in Google Cloud. It's going to install a bunch of our tools, and it's also going to download the snapshot. So this would be a great time to go refill your beverage of choice, secure in the knowledge that Terraform and Coder are going to do all the work to set up your new workspace for you, and it'll be ready in just a couple of minutes. Okay, it looks like it's done building. So let's take a quick look and see what we got. I'm going to open up another terminal here. And this is in a totally new workspace that we just created. but it should have downloaded the DB snapshots, and so I'm going to take a quick look at that. So I do have the backup file that we created in the last step. This automatically got downloaded to the workspace. And I've also got the repo here. So if I go into this path, this is where it copies the repo. This is our demo app. And I should be able to just say docker compose up. And this has never run before on this workstation, so it has to, download the containers. There's no data in here, so but when it starts up, the database is programmed to look for that backup file and actually import it. So we'll see if that works. Okay, so the app is now running, and you can see here that as the Docker Postgres container started up, it actually ran that SQL file that we backed up. So it looks like it worked, but let's go take a look to be sure. So I'm going to open up the coder interface again, and we'll hit refresh here. Now that the app is running, it should detect those ports, and it does. So I can go to port 5000. And again, this is a new workspace, so it's not the same as these other ones we were looking at before, but this is the same data. So now as a developer, I can click create workspace as many times as I want for as many different purposes, and each time it's going to automatically pull this data into it. So yeah, it looks like this is working good, and we've got real data in our production environment. So as we're running our tests and setting up new features, we'll have that benefit for us. Here's a quick recap of what we've done. We used Privacy Dynamics and Coder to create a de-identified snapshot of the production data. We created a snapshot of the data and stored it in a place where a Coder template can access it. Then we set up a developer workspace that automatically loads this data on startup so it can be used in development and testing. If you want to give these tools a try for your development team, you can check out Coder at coder.com. To anonymize production data and use it for development and testing, you can sign up for a free trial of Privacy Dynamics at privacydynamics.io. Thanks for watching.